The obvious saving, of course, that everyone's talked about since this whole recession started is the ultimate saving, which is about the cost of people. And I think it's really quite serious to think about what's happened already and what might still happen. And I think redundancy should be an action of last resort. Because at the end of the day, the people that you employ and the skills more particularly that you have and the culture that you've grown is really, really important. And if you're just cutting labour at the first sign of trouble, then I think that's the wrong thing to do. Let me just give you a few thoughts around that in terms of real examples of that point to amplify it. Let's think a bit about Southwest Airlines on 9/11. What happened on 9/11? Those two planes flew into those towers, and we all know the story. We can all probably remember the pictures as they sort of emblazoned in your brain. And that day, the whole of America stopped flying because they were literally terrified. And the industry as a whole said, we're going to have to make mass redundancies because we just cannot carry on with the level of flying that's taking place in the US and around the world. And as we all know at that time, there were literally thousands of redundancies in the airline industry in the US. There was a company called Southwest Airlines, which is based down in Texas, which had a declared policy of never making people redundant. So you imagine 9/11's taken place, the market has literally dropped to pieces overnight. It wasn't like our recession and the global recession now where it was a kind of slow decline, it just literally went bang. And they said, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do what everybody else has done. We're not going to decimate our business. We're going to value the people we've got and the skills that we have, and we're going to try and actually ride it out. Now the reaction from their people was extraordinary, because their people said something that I've never heard of before. Their people said, we will all chip in some of our salary and give it back to the company because of your decision. Now I think that's extraordinary. I've never heard of that before from that day to this. But that was the reaction in terms of loyalty from the company when people heard what the company was going to try and do. What's more, the organisation began to steal share from the other airlines because they were able to keep the flights going and make things available that the other companies just canned a load of routes. And actually, during that particular crisis, they stole share from a lot of their competitors. Small example about a specific point in time, but it has parallels, I think, for the period that we're going through now, where lots of people have canned people early. Very easy to do, slightly brutal, doesn't actually necessarily give you the right reaction in terms of what people think about you as an organisation, and also your competitiveness going forward.